It's Brian Preston, the money guy.
You ready to move on to the next one?
Oh, yeah. I'm ready for this one.
This one kind of, guys, I want y'all to know, you can already probably tell, Bo's sitting to my left here. Bo's been with me, 12 years? Going on 13 years now?
13, yeah. Long time.
So this next picture cracked me up because Bo, as y'all can probably tell, is pretty persuasive. He's one of those guys that you can see. There's one of the earlier pictures. Look at those sweet pleats we both are wearing.
Yeah, those are pleated slacks, if you all wanted to know, both of us.
I'm not sure how the picture on the right made it into this because I look like a middle-aged man with a bowl cut that just ate a huge buffet.
Well, the reason is because you were quite a middle-aged man. It wasn't quite a bowl cut, but we did just finish eating a buffet in this picture.
So here's the point of this whole setup is that Bo is a CFA. We know that that's probably the most prestigious investment credential you can get is the CFA because it's 3 years worth of testing. And Bo is a persuasive guy. So probably after he had passed the second CFA exam, he comes to me and he says, "Brian, I think I've got this whole investment thing
figured
out, and we should start doing stock options."
I could see the market. I could see which way it was going to move. And I had just learned about these calls, and I just learned about these puts, and I heard about these straddles. And I said, "Brian, I got it. Don't worry. Hey, I know you've been managing money for over a decade now, but me, freshly minted early 20s, I passed the test. I've got a great way that we could invest your money." And by the way, I didn't have any money back then, so I pitched it with Brian's money. And he was like, "You know what? Okay, he passed the CFA. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt here."
So here's one of the worst things that can happen to you when you're trying to do these unique type of strategies is to win with the first one. Mm-hmm. So our first trade worked out really well.
Really, really well.
So then what does that do? That gives us even more confidence that we are so good at this, we should do more of the same behavior with options. Guess what, guys? I keep this account open. I turned $1,000 into $3,000, $3,000 into $12. And that $12 still sits in the account to this day. So you guys can see that you too can screw this up. I think this overconfidence comes from a weird place, but we had a cool stat that FTE Daniel found.
Yeah, this is what we thought was pretty interesting. 65%, this is according to a study done, 65% of people think that they are smarter than the average person.
No, is it just because I'm so nerdy that I'm the only one? In all the show meetings, I started cracking up every time I saw this stat because we all know once the number got over 50, it's not appropriate.
It doesn't make sense
65% of people think they're smarter than the average person. Here's another thing. If you ask somebody if they're smarter than the average person, the smarter they are, the more likely they are to actually say they're not smarter.
So we tried to do this little internal study where we went around and started asking all the members of the firm where they thought. Everybody passed the test. Everybody started doing, I don't know, I'm in the lower half. Yeah. So it was not as near. We did not get 65% of our population to concede to this, but 65% of folks think that they're smarter than the average person. Well, what that tells me is that there's a lot of folks out there that struggle with this behavioral finance concept.
So the concept we're talking about really is the overconfidence bias. And you see this in investing all the time. I mean, if you think about how often we see people that think, "Hey, I'll go time the market.
Yep.
I can get in this thing. Who needs to worry about where it is? I'm going to be able to figure out the perfect entry point or the perfect exit." Why else do you hear the saying, buy low, sell high? Well, heck, that means you must have the ability to go pinpoint the perfect time to buy in there. There's a lot of confidence to make that decision.
And what I think is so remarkable is we saw this very, very vividly in the last election. We saw folks who said, "Hey, if this person wins, the market's going to tank. I want to go to cash." And then we'd have another person say the exact opposite. "If this person wins, the market's going to tank and I want to go to cash." And they were so adamant that they knew exactly how the market was going to react to something that there was no way to know how the market was going to react. Yet somehow, because they read this article and they followed this service and they have this certain belief system, they felt like they could time it to get it right. And what we found was people were wrong. And people continually are wrong, whether it's in the dot-com bubble bursting, whether it's in the 2008 recession, whether it's an election cycle. No matter what the thing is, people are, on average, wrong more often than right when it comes to timing the market.
Well, you see this with individual stocks, and then of course managed mutual funds. I mean, we recently did a show, and we even have a slide for this. It shows how often do the index funds, the low-cost index funds, smoke the managed alternatives.
Yeah, so if we spread this out, and this is from the Spivas 2020 survey, if we look at this over a 15-year cycle, 87.7% of active large cap managers underperform the index. If you look at mid cap, 82.2% of active mid cap managers underperform their index. Small cap, 82.2% underperform the index. And then if you stretch it out to international, 87.8% of active managers underperform the index. Now, we got comments after the last show saying, yeah, but there are, those managers who 12, 13% of the time, but you got to pick those managers and you got to get it right every year.
Every year.
Or you have to be able to pick the one that's going to do it for the next 15 years. We just think that that's a pretty futile exercise.
And that's why next time you realize there's a huge difference between speculating and investing. Speculating means you're trying to play momentum and all these other things. Investing means you believe in what you're doing and you have a long-term mindset. So think about that when you're talking about gold, options, Bitcoin. Yep. These are all distractions that I would argue a lot of them fall into the speculation category, not long-term investing. So just make sure that you're not suffering from that overconfidence bias because it does have a negative effect on your finances.
Exactly right.